What's up, CSBA? What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Just realized this, my Zoom call is probably unmuted. Sorry about that. I think my Zoom was muted there. Appreciate you all tuning in. What's up, CSBA? What's going on? How you guys doing? Tomorrow is recruiting day. I know most of you are super excited, so let's figure we do a little bit of a Q&A heading into tomorrow, especially for some new recruits. Obviously, a lot of guys new to the process, so we wanted to talk a little bit about that, what to expect, and also just a couple little behind-the-scenes things that maybe you guys might just want to know in general. So anyway, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will kick off recruiting. No coaches are allowed to reach out to prospects prior to 3 p.m. tomorrow. That's important to note because we want everybody to be able to start equally at the same time versus doing it earlier in the day. At least a little later gives the opportunity for the people that either are in school, college, or they are working. It gives them a little bit more time during the day because in the past we've done it always at like 12 noon. But I think 3 p.m. is a fair time to start. It gives everybody a little bit more time, especially for the people on the West Coast. If we did it at 12, that's really like 9 a.m. So 3 p.m. tomorrow, on my announcement, we will officially open up the recruiting portal for Season 10. This is for prospects. There might be some transfers out there that still have not found the home or have not committed. We would hope that you guys could do that as soon as possible. Everybody kind of wants to have their rosters in place. We're going to do something that we haven't done here in the CSBA for the first time. We're going to have an early signing day, so that will help coaches because I think this season we have more prospects than we've ever had. So just knowing that we want to be able to give these guys an opportunity to at least lock in half or some of them if they're done earlier, and then kind of know who's left so that they're not wasting their time, especially with, I think there's probably over 160 prospects. So that's important to note. In the past, appreciate that sub. Thanks, Taxamar. I was going to say, in the past, we used to split up blue and green advertising. So blue and green recruiting. But the reason we're not doing it at this time is because every team is required to take 2 green chip players because of the overarching number or high number of green prospects that we had going in. So we wanted to try to ensure that at least minimally 72 of those greens were taken. So I think at one point we were at like 85 and it was counting, and we've had people come in since. So yes, some have left, but etc. So anyway, I will say this: if you're a green chip progression player, brand new, have never been through this, a couple things you should know. One, I think it's important to note that blue chip paid players probably will get more love earlier in this recruiting window than a progression player who is green. And I say that not because you're not important. I say that because paid players can get their overalls up in a much quicker fashion. So therefore, at the beginning of a season, they are more coveted. So therefore, especially in a recruiting portal, they're going to garner more love than a green chip player. So it's important for you to understand that. I think a lot of people coming into this, and we've had some that have 100% grinded, have gotten to the point where they are high overall players because they've grinded it out. But those guys are probably the exception to the rule when I say that a lot of greens do get frustrated. They think they could just be a 95 overall player by doing nothing. And it costs a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears. There's hard costs to the league to run it and put in the time and effort that we do. So that is the reason why the paid route is what it is. But I will say that our progression and free players do have a place within our community. We have had some really strong ones in the past that maybe they just can't afford it. Maybe they just refuse to pay for a sim league. Whatever the reason is, you still have value here, but bring that value in being active. Bring that value in watching streams. I've said this before in other streams. I've said it to people directly. I've said it in league chat. If you watch, hypothetically, if you were to watch 18 hours of streams, which is generally our preseason, okay, we have 18 hours a week, okay? 15,000 in Twitch points to go from a 70 to a 77 overall is very doable. Granted, you got to tune in for a lot of those. You probably average about 400 to 500 points per stream. I will say that if you're subscribed, you get a little bit higher of a boost on the points. I know if you are somebody who joins every stream, there are bonuses, I think, that are given by Twitch that increases your production. Maybe it's instead of 1.1 points per whatever, it goes to 1.2. So, like, every little thing that you do, whether it's a sub, whether it's a streak, whether it's just tuning in. I've had people, and I'll talk to you about a guy in our league, Eaton. Eaton turns the stream on. I don't think he's there half the time, but he has the stream on. The guy is a coach in our league. He's super active. He's progressed. He's gotten his guy in a really good chip. This is his second blue chip through progression because of how much he grinds. He's a very valued member of our community. So we have a few of those guys. Okay? So it's doable. But if you're somebody that's just going to be here, I'm going to be here. I'll be on the court. Just know that you not putting in that time or you not being active in league chat will affect A, your recruiting, but B, how your guy plays. A lot of coaches look at the green chips as guys that are more of the role players. But if you want to be out of that mindset, you either need to grind and get there, or you need to go to the pay side. So just I want to make sure that you guys have your minds open and understand that. And I will say, like I said, the blue chips at the beginning of the week probably will get more love than the greens in the beginning. It's just a fact, okay? We could have a blue chip who literally is a 95. Now, granted, our coaches don't know and shouldn't know going into this recruiting session who is packed up and who hasn't. Nobody knows that except for me. I know all those people who have. With that said, none of that information is shared out beyond my screen and myself. Like, my kids don't know it. None of the bod knows it. None of the admins know it. My coach doesn't know it. Nobody knows that, okay? So we do that for a reason, to keep recruiting fair. At no point should a coach ever ask you, do you intend to pack up? Can they ask you, are you going to be active? Yes, they can ask you that, 100%. They can ask you if you're packing up. You can't tell them that you're packing up, okay? This keeps recruiting fair for everybody, okay? It keeps it even keel. People, if you're active, which is what we want our players to be, both in league chat, streaming, check-ins, if we have them for non-progression players, etc. Like, this is super important for you, because your activity is going to dictate where the coaches go, okay? And I say that with sincerity, because the more active you are, the more vested you choose. We have some league jobs. There's content. There's color commentary. I would say stats, but our stats team is pretty much locked up. But there are alternate ways you could potentially go in and earn, whether it's credits or points towards your progression, depending on if you're chipping in those areas. Hit up CWeb if you're interested in content, if you're interested in color commentary, broadcasting, etc. Hit me up. We could talk about that. That's also could potentially help fund some of your players. But tomorrow, 3 o'clock, a lot of coaches, and I'm asking this of everybody. I don't care if you're predetermined, not predetermined. If you get a DM from a coach, I ask you wholeheartedly, with all my wishes and dreams and prayers coming true, that you take the time to have the common courtesy to DM a coach back. There are over 100, I believe there's around 160 prospects roughly. Okay, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less. I don't have the number exactly. But these coaches, the assistant coaches, the recruiting coordinators reaching out to you might be putting together graphics specifically for you. They might be putting together a very specialized approach or pitch to you. Even if you don't have any intention of ever going to that school, please don't string coaches along. Please have a common courtesy to respond to a DM. They would rather hear you are not interested in a school or going to their school versus you ghosting them in a DM. Because, listen, we all 100% have school, jobs, family. We don't live on Discord 24/7. But if we DM you, at least have the common courtesy to respond back. That's all we ask. Again, it's probably one of the biggest pet peeves from every single coach in the CSBA. I kid you not when I say that, okay? It is the same thing every season. It is a reason why a lot of our coaches don't want to coach anymore, or sometimes why we have a high turnover in coaching. It's because, and when you guys, and some of you have never gone through this recruiting session ever. Some of you have, but for the ones that haven't, you'll understand why when these coaches start coming and talking to you. It is by far, when I was a coach, it was my favorite and most fun time putting together some sort of pitch for a recruit to come to my school. But when somebody didn't respond, I not only wasted time, effort, I could have put it in somewhere else. So I ask, please, please, please respond back to the DM you got. I will say one additional thing that's important. I'm sharing my screen here. Sometimes you will get a message request and you'll have a little red light at the top and it'll say message request. Here it is, message request. This is you usually will have a little red light. This will go off sometimes. It doesn't always come through just based on people's preferences. So check your DMs. Even if you don't think you have one, go to that spot because sometimes that's lit up. Okay? It's important. It is, Hubba said it 100% just now in stream chat. Coaching sim sports is real work. These coaches go all out. They put a lot of time and effort into this. I'm beyond thankful for every single one of them for the effort that they put in. Some coaches literally go to, they spend hours a day putting together things ready for this week. And there are some that maybe don't put as much, but they may put in something differently. Everybody has their approach that is completely different. Okay, some might do graphics. Some might want to just have a conversation to find out who you are as an individual, or talk to you a little bit about the culture of the team and their locker room that they're putting together. All of these things are so crucial when you're having. Not every pitch is going to be the same. They're not cookie cutter. Trust me when I say that. Some of these guys have amazing Discord campuses where they've spent hours, maybe even days, putting together this beautiful campus, talking about culture, talking about their school, their history. They may have all of this stuff. Some of them may not. Some of it may be more about that personal connection. For every coach, as well as for every player, there are different things that, for those particular players and coaches, that they gravitate to. One size does not fit all. So someone may have a phenomenal Discord, and you might be like, I love this culture. You might go into somebody, I don't need all this fluff. And then we have coaches or players or OGs that have like, I don't need that. Right? To me, that's not important. To some other people love to be dazzled by, you saw it on transfer signing day. A lot of those graphics were phenomenal. All right? It brings so much excitement to the league. We love that. We hope that you continue to do that. But at the same time, not everything is for everybody, okay? This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Okay? I just ask respectfully, if you get a DM, interested or not interested, please let the coach know. If you we don't expect. And this is another piece. So here's some pieces of advice, and I'll get to Q&A in a second because I know people are flying. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of comments being thrown out there. And AI is, and Hub, a perfect example. AI has been phenomenal with addition for the sim community for graphics. Like, I love it. Love what you can bring. But what I will say too on the graphics front, like, it's great. It's a great addition. I love it. I want to continue to see it. I would prefer if everybody was recruited that way. But again, not everybody is that. But I think it's important to say, have fun with it. Don't commit on the first because it's your favorite school. A lot of these guys are going to come at you. Okay, I've seen teams recruit, and they're phenomenal schools with a phenomenal culture. Okay, and I've seen guys go to their favorite school because it's their favorite school. They were miserable, or they quit, or they left, or they weren't into it. Don't just go because it's your favorite school. I'll use this one example of a thing I can understand. You're a huge Duke fan. You hate UNC, or you're a big UNC fan. You hate Duke. The opposite team, the team that you hate, recruits you. You don't want to go there. I get it. That part I get. But if it's just because the school is your favorite, they may not pitch you. Because what people don't know is there is a soft cap, and every player's overall for a cap counts towards that soft cap. So a 95 overall player might be a 7 player. A new prospects might be a 2. There are other players from their previous roster that may already be there, whether it be through transfers or whether they were formerly there from last season. So maybe, and we have position restrictions, right? So it's possible, if you're a UNC fan, you might say, hey, I want to be recruited by UNC. UNC might only have 2-3 spots. Maybe their position is a center forward, as a small forward, and guess what? You're a point guard. That may not work. So please consider every school. Listen to every pitch. Okay, it's important. I think you'll learn a lot about the coaches, the culture, the amazing community that we truly have. DC Gunn asked a perfect question. So going into recruiting, green chips are a 1-point cap hit, blues are a 2. Okay? Nobody knows if you've decided to pack prior to that. Okay? You still count as a 2. You might be a 95 overall, but you still count as a 2. When the recruiting is over, all those things get added into the spreadsheets, the team sheets for the coaches, and their new cap will get totaled overall. But as long as they're under 38 or 37 rather, before the start of the season, which is this year's cap, and it changes every season, that 37 cap you have to be under. Okay, that's important. You can be on a team, and I kid you not, maybe the team has never had a player, doesn't have one single solitary player on there. Your cap might, to start the season, might be 20 if you got all blues. Okay, but that's not going to happen because minimally 2 greens have to be on every team, 1. And 2, we have new people coming in. We have new coaches, new schools trying to establish an identity, which is another important thing. Okay, if you have this preconceived notion like, oh, what did you do last year? Or why didn't you have a winning season? There are a lot of factors that go into teams, coaches taking over a program. Maybe coach took over a program at the tail end of it. I'll give you a perfect example. One of our coaches was probably the most active player on the team. They didn't have one single solitary person other than the original OG coach that was active. The original OG coach didn't want to do it anymore. This particular person took over. So technically, this is his first year coaching. Technically, he has no history of coaching. That doesn't make him a bad school to go to. Listen to his pitch. Listen to what they have to say. It's important. And again, another team could have, for whatever reason, took over a squad, or People transferred out because we just reset back to NCAA schools. There's a lot of factors that factor in here. There's also some schools where there is a very dedicated, hardcore, 7 of the 10 guys are coming back. There is that side too. So, or maybe they won a national championship. Like there's aspects of that. Maybe they only have one roster spot or two. So, a lot of different factors to think of when you're going into recruiting. The cap, it's a soft cap. So the soft cap, once we go into the season, teams can exceed that cap. It's just during recruiting so that we try to have everybody start at minimally on an equal playing ground, because guys will pack up. Green chips go to blue chips, or maybe they decide that they want to pay, or maybe they've grinded enough to get their guy to a higher overall. We don't want to discourage that, and I will say that the more we have people that are invested, whether it be progression or paid, the higher the overall average goes up, the higher the cap goes up. The more we don't have people who progress, the more people that don't pay into it, the lower the cap will go, which means at the end of the season, when a new cap is revealed, if it goes lower, teams that are over the cap will then have to talk to players about going into the transfer portal. And that happens every season. We've done that for a really long time. So that's important to know. But anyway, so those are a lot of reasons as to why that is a big reason why that. Again, the other piece to this too is prior to 3 o'clock and prior to now, you should not be in any DMs of any coaches talking to them. That is a recruiting violation. If there's anybody that finds out, or if information is shared out, I will tell you those teams will be hit with a cap hit, which means they'll have a low. They can still put together a team, but they'll be forced to either cut somebody, or they'll be forced to not go after as many higher end players as possible. So don't put those teams in that position. Again, I'll go back to it again. Greens, I said, I think you'll probably be more towards the back half of the week. It's just facts. There might be some, and there are some teams that probably can only need greens at this point too. So like they may have 8 roster spots. So some of you so it's important for you greens to continue to be active. Show your worth. It's important. I know you don't think it might be, but it is. League chat can be at times toxic. League chat at times can be, what's the word I'm looking for? People are hesitant to talk in league chat because maybe nobody's giving them the time of day. We like aggressive. We like active. You'll make friends with somebody here. Some guys they'll skip right over it and it happens. But don't be afraid of league chat, regardless if it's toxic or not. Join the conversation. Be involved. Coaches love activity. They see that. They know that you're invested in this community. We will have an early signing day. It'll probably be Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't decided. And then we'll shut off anybody from committing until the last day of the recruiting window, which I think is the 13th. I forget off the top of my head. So keep that in mind. One other thing that I was going to throw out there. So we talked a little bit about recruiting and expectations going in tomorrow. I really hope you guys take what I say to you to heart. It's very important. Ja'Cory, because you are a progression player, the way your player gets better is for you. It's an upgrade. Thank you, Zay. It's upgrading. So you can either upgrade via the paid system, which is what our blue chips are currently, right? That they're represented by that blue circle. Those are all paid players. They've started out as a 77 overall, and they can add to their players by packing up. There's a whole bunch of things in the store you can buy. The other thing is if you're a progression, which is that green square to start. Okay, that green square, which is pretty much the majority of our greens. Okay, well, it should be all of our greens actually. You earn that blue chip, which pushes you from 70 to 77 overall, by watching Twitch streams and check-ins. Once you get to 15,000 points combined, either through Twitch, through check-ins, or combined, you can then cash those in. Do not cash in your Twitch points until you hit enough to cash in a blue, because it will be the quickest. And I know it sounds, 15,000, that's not quick. But it will be the quickest and easiest jump of any of the progression jumps, okay? It's the most rewarding. So if you turn in 15,000 Twitch or points in general, progression points in general, you turn 15,000, that turns your player into a 77 overall. If you used 8,000 points to get a pack, a 10-point pack, guess what? 2 of those will not equal the jump that you'll get from 70 to 77 overall. That's 20 points for 16,000 points. Versus 70 to 77, you're going up 7 overall points. You're going from that base green arc that you see in the archetype sheets to the base blue archetype number. So that those numbers jump up significantly, and that's the reason why you go from a 70 to 77. So it's important. Don't cash them in. Don't make me have to refund them. Hold them until you're ready, and then when you do, you have to screenshot them. Now, the one other thing that I was going to say, and again, if you haven't read it, please, dear God, go read it. There's a video. There's a Word document with a menu of what everything costs. There's a progression how-to channel that answers a lot of this. And if you don't know and you see a progression blue that lives within Discord and you don't understand it still, go talk to them, because they fully understand it because they got there. But that progression how-to channel is hugely helpful. Please don't be lazy. Please don't run to me and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? Put a lot of things in writing, the hopes to not have to answer a gazillion questions. I'm happy to do it, but everybody runs to me for those questions. So I put things in place to hopefully point you in the right direction. And again, there's a video, there is text to read, and there is a Word document that has what those points and what you have to do to turn those points in. Okay, so it's all in there. We don't have stream check-ins most depth, so the exclamation check-in does not really do anything. So this is not like the ECFL where you type that stuff and it connects. What else did I want to talk about? There were 2 other important things that I wanted to talk about. From here on out, starting tomorrow, any packs, whether if it's a rewards points packs for paid players, whether it's progression players cashing in, even though that you're posting it in Discord with the screen capture, you must fill out the form, and we will have a new form. I'll show you guys something. So I talked a lot about automation. From now on, when you put in an order, whether it's a paid order, whether it be a progression redemption, when you fill out the sheet, it will dump it in this sheet here for me. It is automated. It will tell me if you've gone over something. It won't tell me where the error is, but it will tell me that you've gone over the total. So let's say you put 10 points on driving layup. You're at the max based on your archetype. It's going to tell me error. I will personally DM you, tell you there's an error. You need to figure out where you made a mistake. If I know, obviously I will tell you. It's possible maybe you only put 10 points against this one and that was the only thing you bought. But in this particular example, it's a test. This is just a test. He bought 90 points. Or maybe you're a progression. You put it in. You put it over your total, and this automation will now tell me whether there's an error or not. So we have a new form that will generate into this. You have to put it in, whether you're a paid or progression player. It is vital. Okay, if it's clear and it works, if I literally just click check, it's going to tell me it's cleared. Now, when it says it's cleared, doesn't mean that it's been cleared into the All Players tab, which is automated back to your coach's sheets. It just means that I've now checked that one off my list. If this was a valid If this was a valid one, it would be green. I would click check, and it automatically updates into the automation of all of our players, which then ties back to the coach's team sheet. So automation is huge for me this year. It's hope I paid somebody to put together this amazing system that will allow me and take some pressure off of me from a time consumption perspective, but it's going to put it a little bit back on the players to fill those sheets out. The days of me actually taking it off of Discord and putting it into your team sheets are over. Everything will be automated. So hugely helpful. Excel or Google Sheets, Ricky, is beyond helpful. So I'm excited for that. That should make lives a lot easier for me, a lot less opportunity for me to make mistakes. And trust me, I hammered the heck out of this with our builder to try to make it break, and I broke it a few times, but now it seems to be fixed and going to good. But we're going to also open up a ticket bot, so I have to get with Big Headed Derek on that. He's the one that was going to help me set that up. I want to have that set up this week in case there's issues, roster issues, points calculations, etc. There's another thing that we're working on with the builder that I hope to have out by the end of recruiting. It will be so we used to have it before. It was the sheet that it was like the tracker sheet that allowed people to put, when they put in upgrades, that they could kind of track it against their own arc so that they don't make mistakes. We're creating a different one that will have it'll be similar to the previous one, but it'll be different in that it won't have players' names. It'll just be the archetypes, so that if you do a change or anything like that, you can just easily change it in the drop down, and it'll be easy to monitor. We won't have the issues that we had with this tracker prior, where I was worried about it. It's tied to the player name, and that, like, you'll just be able to go in and change it yourself, and it'll be super easy. So that is something else that we have coming to. So those are two big announcements there. Now that I just rambled on for about 30 minutes, there's still 30 people. I know we have like 40 something at one point, but talk to me. Is there any questions that you guys might have about the system, how things work, how recruiting is going to go, and anything that you might have with regards to CSBA that you want to know or don't understand? Now is a good time. So Jackson Storm said, do we DM the coaches or do they DM us? I will say this. Coaches don't hate a DM that you're showing interest. But I would say it's better to have, I would tell you it's better to let them come to you, because they have priorities on who they want to reach out to first. I'm not saying you can't DM them before the window opens, but I would say to you, it doesn't hurt to say, hey, you're interested, but let them. I feel like it does. I feel like it takes away from the ability to pitch them the way you probably should be pitched, and to show their interest level in you. But to Zay's point, most likely they're going to come to you first, and I would suggest you probably let that happen. What else? Anybody else have a good question here? So if you are if I'm not mistaken, is that Steve? Coach Steve, the Druggies? I think that's who you are. If you are a blue chip paid player, you would cash in 5,000 viewership rewards, and I'll show it to you really quickly. I know it's disgusting, but in here, this one here, CSBA player viewership, this 5,000 point one, okay? That one specifically is for paid players and paid players only. You get 3 over the course of your career if you turn in 5. It's 5,000. You get a free 10-point pack. Again, you have to use the sheet, but you're allowed that 3 times up over the player career. So it's kind of like a bonus back for like giving and paying into the paid system. What else you guys got? Eugene, I don't know anything about reaching out to UNC. That's news to me. What else you guys got? Questions-wise. Again, if you're a progression player, that viewership reward does not apply to you. And there is a, and again, I'm sorry for the way this looks, but there is a, if you look at all the progressions, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, there is there's a 15,000. Okay, there's the way that's set up. It's set up specifically so that you can cash in. I don't know what you're talking about, Eugene, but it's set up that way in increments so that if you have check-in points, let's say you have 7,000 check-in points and you have 8,000 Twitch points, you can cash in the 8,000, screenshot it, like what Druggies just did. He just cashed in a 5,000 player progression. He will screenshot that, okay? He will post that in the rewards. There's 2 separate redemption channels. One is for paid players and one is for the progression rewards, okay? If you're paid, what he just did, you would post in the rewards channel. If you're a progression player, you cash in what you're doing to get to that 15,000. It's done in increments that you can't. It's done between one. The way I broke it out, it allows you to do different $1,000 point increments, whether it's 1,000, 3,000, 4,000, whatever, to get to your total. So, like, let's say you had 11,000 points, okay? And based on the system, you would look to see, how do I cash in 4,000? Oh, there is no 4,000 up, but there is 2,000s. Okay, 2,000, screenshot it. You do your check-ins, you screenshot that on the tracker, and you post both of those in the thing, and then you would fill out the sheet saying, redemption. And I will check that sheet and check Discord and apply it. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it. So while I know it's unlikely, what happens if no team reaches out to somebody? So ideally right now, blue chips, all blue chips will go to college. I will make sure that happens. It should happen, and I'm going to make sure that happens. If you're a blue chip and it's at the end of recruiting and you don't have a home, please come talk to me. Please make sure that you update in top schools that I'm still looking for a team or I'm still looking for offers, because coaches check that. If you're a green chip, there is a possibility that if you do not get recruited, you will automatically get put into high schools. Okay? High school will give you a free year of content of being a high school player, and then next recruiting session you'll be given the opportunity to come into college. I know right now we have an overage of players, and it's done that way deliberately because people ghost. So for the first year ever, we're pushing people, if they don't get recruited, they will go to high school. Again, blue chips this season will all go to college. If for some reason it doesn't happen and I miscalculated, that blue chip will go to high school, but I don't think so. You see your Discord points down on the bottom left. There is a little logo here. It should have your points next to it. I don't have it because I'm streaming. Yes, QCam, I did say you could combine Twitch points and Discord points together. Jackson Storm, what is top schools? So coaches will post in top schools in the CSPA. Sorry, I have every single stupid... Here it is, top schools. This is where guys will post who their top schools are. Somebody might say, hey, I'm not getting offers, but I might want to go to these schools, or I'm interested in these schools. Or I'm going to trim my 5 down to one of the, final 5 will trim tomorrow. This is a perfect example. Who's your coach on? Will I be UConn or will I be Washington? Hey, I'm still waiting to hear from more schools, but here's currently my top 5. Those are all great ways to communicate with coaches, because, again, there are so many prospects. And, again, I said this at the beginning. Not everybody's going to get to be the first person that a coach talks to. Okay, some of these head coaches don't have an assistant head coach, would love help. They don't have a recruiting coordinator, would love help. There might be some coaches that there weren't enough assistant head coaches, people in the assistant head coach portal, for them to be able to land one. So they might be out here on their own talking to 100 people. So you may not be the first one. That is the reason why I say please do not commit 5 seconds into this thing. Listen to the coaches. Give them the opportunity to reach out. Also, do not leave them hanging on for a long time. Like, if you don't know, then you don't know. Just say, hey, I'm not making my decision today, but I love it. Talk to them, whatever. I don't know, QCAM, 5.2, 14.8. Yeah, that's the last I checked. That sounds right. What other? Is there a way you let the league know what top schools you are? I showed you that, Eugene. You don't have to be recruited, Dakota, if you don't want to, but there's no guarantee that those schools are going to reach out either. So just keep that in mind. But I think that's important. I mean, I don't mind it. I like when guys do that too because it just says, hey, you're interested. But again, we said before, if you decide you want to DM the coach, you can. We allow it. I would rather them DM you first so you get the true pitch and get the true experience of it. But if you've been in sim leagues before, you know kind of how it works. No, Hubba, I did not mention that. So Hubba said, did you mention that official offers must come from the head coach? Correct. A recruiting coordinator and assistant coach can reach out to you to talk to you. They cannot give you the official offer, which also actually makes me think of another topic that I didn't think of. So the head coach has to make the offer, okay? Both teams have to be in agreement. It has to be mutual. You can't say a coach may offer you the spot until you guys verbal and say, hey, I'm committing to you. Respond back to your head coach and go, am I locked in? Is this spot mine? Let's just assuming that you want to be there, okay? Guys do flip. That happens. It sucks for coaches. But someone might have gotten a pitch that they really loved and changed their mind. It happens. But what I would say is make sure, do not leave coaches hanging. Don't verbal to one team, go talk to another team and verbal with them, and then not go back to that other team ever to tell them that you went in another direction. We want to give coaches the opportunity to maneuver. There are so many freaking prospects this year, more than we've ever had, because we went from NCAA to rebrand back to NCAA. So we're back with a lot of new people, which is great for the CSBA. But a lot of you are inexperienced and don't understand how that works and how impactful that is by ghosting somebody or flipping on somebody. I'm not saying you can't flip on somebody, but don't ghost them. Give them the opportunity to at least respond back. Or at least understand that they need to now go find somebody else. And don't do it on signing day either. Give them a couple days notice if you can. QCAM, I covered that before. We can post favorite schools and where it's called top schools. So that is the answer to your question. Hubba's an assistant head coach. Again, those guys can be in they can talk to you. They just can't give you the official offer. They can tell you they're interested in talking to you. When the head coach wants to lock you in, he'll reach out. Now, granted, some head coaches may reach out. Just because you're talking to somebody also does not mean that is an offer. You can ask the coach, is that an offer? They want to get to know you. They want to know what kind of cultural fit you're going to be. So these are all different things you have to take into consideration. So make sure you ask, is this my verbal offer? Are you interested in signing me? And if you are the prospect, I agree to your verbal. We good. You can lock it in. Do not post it anywhere. Do not tell anybody else besides that coaching staff that you are locked in. We want to keep this stuff a surprise. I might even do a signing day show. We'll see. It all depends. But that's something we want to do. That. Is there a polite way to turn down recruiters? Honesty. Just be honest, Ricky. I think more coaches would appreciate that than just being ghosted. Polite way. Honesty is key. Yeah, any other questions? Have fun with this, guys. This is between this and March. I mean, listen, the regular season is the regular season, and I love it. We have some in-season tournaments to start. Then the middle of the season always seems to be like when people kind of, I don't want to say they tune out, but like activity goes down a little bit. We're hoping that we can continue to keep that going. Maybe we'll do some fun stuff in the middle of the season to kind of keep you guys active. Then March Madness comes in, it's like it ramps back up again. It always does. It's always this way. So families first. Do what you got to do. I just say when you do sign, if you're going to be off Discord, if there's something personal go on, DM your coach, DM me. Be in contact communication. Nobody hates a ghost more than me. I love communication. Communication is key. Yeah, Eugene just said it. Say, I appreciate your time, but I'm going to move forward with another program. Be honest. Yeah, it is the most exciting. Listen, how about I got news for you. I went through some pitches last year as a player, and Gren and I decided to go to San Francisco, which is now Villanova. But I got pitched, and I loved it again. It was like, oh my God, I felt, because I love so many members of this community, I felt guilty for saying no. And some of you will feel guilty for saying no to somebody, especially when you get pitched a really good pitch. What else? I mean, I had a hard time. I had a hard time. It was so good that I was like, and then there were a few people that checked the box, and I was just like, legit, props to you for checking the box. That dirty, if you get a lot of pitches, you will. And you'll understand why if you get the pitches. Jackson asked when the season starts. I believe I wrote that in one of my announcements. Prospects recruiting will start, should end on 2/13, and then 2/19 should be the start of preseason. We have 1 week of preseason, and then we go right into those special tournaments that we have. We have about 6 different tournaments. Every school is represented in a tournament. And that's the in-season tournament is your first 3 weeks. Then weeks 4 through 8 are your, I think it's 4 through 8. Yeah. 4 through 8, 4 through 8 is your conference play. Then you have conference tournaments. Then you have March Madness. We have a selection. So how do teams qualify for March Madness? We have a selection show. We have a selection show, and we have a selection committee that ranks the top 32 teams. So 4 teams do not make it into the tournament. 32 do. And then the 32 that make it in are seeded by the selection committee. In the past, we had more than 36 and we had playing games. But for the most part, before we had the playing games that one season, we've always done 32 teams get in. It is a fun selection show with clips. We break down players and with bracketology. It is definitely fun. It's something worth tuning in for. 36 total schools. If you have not been to the website, it's definitely a place. Definitely a place you should check it out. But I'll just show you a graphic really quickly. So this is our website. Again, this is not linked. This is not linked yet. These schools are not linked to the rosters, but these are our 36 schools. So the ACC, we have North Carolina State, Duke, Syracuse, FSU, Virginia Tech, Big East, Butler, Georgetown, Connecticut, Marquette, Villanova, Providence, Big Ten, Michigan State, Ohio State, Maryland, Iowa, Indiana. Big 12 is represented by Kansas, Houston, Kansas State, West Virginia, Baylor, and Texas. Pac-12 is represented by Gonzaga, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Washington, Oregon. SEC is Kentucky, South Carolina, Arkansas, Auburn, LSU, and Mississippi State. And we also have this. So this is our main website, but there also, if you click standings, it takes you to our secondary website, which is where stats, rosters, tournaments, schedules, all that stuff will be here. You can literally click on here. It will take you to, this will normally be, once we have games and stuff scheduled, this will have a roster. Once everybody's roster is set, that'll all be in there. So those are the websites. Getting a blue chip will take you from 70 overall to 77. That is correct. Sportsman, no, we are not. To answer your question, we are not going to switch to Pac-12 and Big 12 teams that have shifted conference. Right now, the intent is no. That would require some additional modding, and I'm not necessarily wanting to do that at this point. Not saying we can't, and maybe it is something for the future if there's enough movement there, but right now we're not. I have a friend. Can we go to the same school if the coach is recruiting us? Yeah, absolutely. We like it. We like it when guys kind of just do it themselves, go themselves. But I understand, and this this part is very frustrating to a lot of coaches when guys are package deals, because it does feel very, I want to say it feels almost illegal, because it's like, oh, well, I know my guy's going to pack up well, and this guy's going to pack up well, and we want to go to that school. I don't love that, I'm going to be honest, because it then becomes an unfair situation, especially if you're predetermined. But there's nothing that I can say or do to prove anything otherwise. But now that you said it, I certainly think you'll be looked at, maybe with a side eye. It's not really warranted and liked. I would say it's more frowned upon than it is liked. Kudos to the coach that does get the 2 first, though. What team has the most titles? Michigan and Kansas are tied for 2 apiece. I do need to add this past season's college champions. This season we had, but here it is. We had Kansas, Clemson, Georgetown, Michigan twice, Miami, and Duke won in season 8 last night. Last season was Ohio A&T, and then we have high school, which has been a little bit on a hiatus, but we do have high school champions. Prolific Prep has won twice. Mater Dei has won. Archbishop Moeller, and I forget there was one other. I forget who the last one was since we've had high school. High school is a great opportunity for someone that is not a current coach who wants to learn, maybe wants to think about being a coach in the future. It's a great way to try to work with a locker room and take that experience. So we'll put out we'll put out high school coaches applications at some point once the high school rosters start to be a little bit solidified. So if you're interested in coaching at some point in the CSBA, it's a great place to get your feet wet. Progression. You can get, so there are rules. Jackson asked how many how many badges can progression players get. There is in the how-to of how that lays out. However, every player, the max badges anybody can get is 29. 28 standard. If you get a 29th, it has to be Hot Zone Hunter. That's the only rule we have. But there is a progression from bronze to silver to gold to Hall of Fame, and you have to go through the progression. So you can't open up silver until you have 28 bronze. Can't open up gold till you have 18 silver. Can't open up Hall of Fame till you have 8 gold. It's just the way it works. Yeah, Juggies, you can absolutely do that when the time is right. Just put in the application. Yeah, cap is tight. I agree. Jackson. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, there is a progression how-to with a menu. Just go into that menu. It's a Word document. It'll tell you. I want to say it's 4,000 points. I'm thinking about lowering that though, but that's what it's been. We used to be 20,000 for a blue chip. We're now 15, so I might. Yeah, thank you. Downtown Dory knows a lot about. Dory, do you care if I ask these progression guys to kind of tap into you if they have some questions? Because I know you know this stuff. But again, there is a sheet with a menu of items of what it takes to get points wise. So yeah, Dory said, please reach out to him if you have some help. He doesn't mind. Or Eaton is a perfect example as well. Or our assistant commissioner, G. Hart, he's done it. So, what else? Anybody else got any questions? I know it's getting late, but IMG won. Thank you, Zay. I remember. I knew there was another team I was missing. It was IMG. Thank you. I was thinking it was Archbishop Moeller. I think it was. Zay, was that season 6 or 7? I can't remember. I know we didn't have high school in season 8 and 9, I believe. I know I'm missing some banners off that page. Can coaches give advice on what packs to buy? Absolutely. If you do not know, or even that goes for progression too. Like if you need to apply a pack somewhere, ask your coach if you don't know. I think we've said this before with the archetypes. If you're like somebody that plays to a specific role, those are the best places to start first because it just makes your guy that stronger in that role. But some guys like to put it where their deficiencies are, so it just depends. Zay, if you yeah, that's right. I forgot it's not aligned to our seasons. I wish we could go back and figure that. I need to get those banners up though. If you happen to know, let me know. I'll get those up. There's a tracking sheet that I mentioned earlier that we're working on a new one that will allow you to track your own so that you know that you don't go over and make mistakes. I talked a little bit earlier about a new sheet being put out there so that when you fill it out, it goes into my automation system, and then I don't have to manually enter them anymore. So I'll know if you go over by an error, but at the same time, I won't have to check because it's all automated and it's automated correctly. But tracking is good. The tracking sheet, a new one will be coming out hopefully by the time recruiting is over. What else? Give you more sheets. Listen, Ricky. I love if it's automated. I can tell you right now. I've been having so much fun. It was money well spent. Assigning guys to rosters and being able to move them around within 5 seconds has made my life so much easier. I used to spend hours doing that. Now I can literally spend a couple minutes doing each one. What else? Anybody else got any questions? Love all these questions, by the way. These are great ones. Again, just have fun with this, guys. It is such a fun. I used to do some really cool stuff. VGL, QCAM, go check it out. VGL, they're one of our partner affiliates. VGL. There's a link in Discord for them. No, we do not. Yeah, we're not allowed to mention that in the name of that league there, Eugene. They are not allowed to be promoted here, sorry to say. We have an affiliate. I don't know how to delete that right now. But you're not allowed. Yeah, we don't talk about that league here, please. We have some issues with them, so I ask you not. Plus, that's okay. I'm not mad. We don't support them. I'll say ECFL because I have no problem with the ECFL. They used to be our sister. They used to be a sister league, but I don't have anything ill will towards CFSL. But there's just issues there, and I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. And a lot of reasons that I really don't want to talk about. So they do their thing, we do ours. No ill will, no bad things to say. I just refuse to talk about it. We don't want to promote them here. I will say VGL is a sister partner of ours. Great league. Those guys, Jay Gates does a phenomenal job with a bunch of other guys. So VGL is a place you guys are going to want to catch out. And they're great. They're a great group of guys, and they're really, that league is, since partnering with us, there's a lot of coordination back and forth between the two of us. So just go check those guys out. ECFL again used to be a partner of ours. We have no ill will towards them, but go check them out too if you want. But we don't talk about those other 4 letters that Eugene mentioned. Do you still do Park After Dark, Professor? We do. We haven't done it in a while. I've been down on streamers. So for me, streaming has been a little bit difficult. I'd like to do Park After Dark again this season, and we probably will, maybe more towards the middle of the season. I think that would be great. For those that don't know what Park After Dark is, you'll see more about it with the advertising. I think I might even have the commercial. Hold on. If this is the wrong commercial, forgive me. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on. This is Park After Dark, guys. This is Park After Dark. So that's just a little snippet of Park After Dark. Just guys, we usually try to do that. We usually have some good hip hop going in the background and just have fun as the streamers. And we usually have a some sort of bracket. Sometimes we do 2v2s, 3v3s, 1v1. We've done 5v5. The 5v5s are a little bit boring because it's just like watching regular, but we will do that. Sometimes we'll use. In the past, we had guys cash in Twitch points to be able to be captains and so on and so forth. But Professor, that is not something that you. It's your current player now that would partake in that. It's not user based. It's still sim. But like if your player here was selected, you'd be on one team. So anyway, but the Park After Dark is something maybe mid-season we'll try to do. Again, I'm down streamers, down color commentators, so I'm doing a lot of the streams. So unfortunately, to do 18, I'm not saying I'm doing 18 hours, but to do 18 hours if I had to, and then to do a Park After Dark late night is a lot on me. So if we can get it going again and I have help, I absolutely will do it. Appreciate that. Eugene the Ace, five gifted, buddy. Appreciate you. Good stuff, buddy. Thank you so much for that. There was a couple other ones too. I think appreciate that. I think there was some bits. I believe there were a couple of subs too. So I appreciate all the subs. Now Shane McMahon's gonna go. Shane McMahon is gonna go nuts right now. Appreciate that though, Eugene. Thank you. That means a lot. Word. No, it's not a different build. It's the same as your guy now, but it would just you can dancing it up. You don't want to see me dance. I'm like Elaine Bennis when I dance. Typical white boy dance. Totally thrown off. What I was gonna say. Oh, the recruits, right? The your players for Park After Dark. You might get to team up with your friend who maybe didn't go to your school. You're like, hey, you and me versus whatever. Like, or you guys have beef in league chat or whatever. Like, it's a great play to just kind of like talk smack and add some extra fun to your player's career. And we've had some pretty fun memes and gifs along the way from what Park After Dark has done. So the animations are always funny. Any other final ones? We're at like 11:10 here. I don't care for me. I'm going to be up doing some prep for tomorrow's recruitment day for the coaches. But any final questions here before we kind of head off? I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. But having fun hanging out with you. Hopefully getting some Twitch points. I know I got about 10 DMs waiting for me after this. No, it's exciting time. I agree with you, Dirty. It's a fun time. And just remember this too. And this is full transparency, right? Everybody, it's different for everybody. Okay? Some guys expect free and to be a 95 overall without putting any effort. And I said it and I'll say it in all those DMs until you understand it. It's a grind to be a free player here. But it's done specifically for a reason, because free does not come cheap. Okay, there is hard costs to run this league. So you guys are very valued members of our community, and I don't want you to think that you're not. You are. Just keep that in mind. Appreciate you, Eugene. Peace out, brother. But yeah. There are people that love the grind, and I give you guys all the props in the world for the ones that do. I know I'm grinding a VGL for myself, so I respect it. With that said, paid's quicker. You can upgrade during the season. You'll gain an year of if you happen to get a blue chip paid. You get an extra year of eligibility out of it. So instead of 3 years for progression, you would get 4, because all progressions start off as a sophomore. So I'll just keep that in mind too. But we appreciate everybody, paid and free. Nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. Ricky, you just said that to me in my mind. In my mind, I already started singing the song. So, but yeah, I mean, to everybody, it's different. And some guys will get frustrated by it and they'll ghost. Something that we're going to probably do this season, and it's important not to ghost. We do an in-season recruiting for those ghosts. So don't disappear. And if you're going to ghost, you're going to leave the league, let your coach know so that they know. Nothing that, I will say this, communication is key with your coaching staff. It's important. We appreciate it because otherwise you're being left out in the lurch. I've seen guys just leave the CSBA and don't even say anything to me, and I'm just like, you could have come talk to me. Let's talk. Let's figure out a way to help you, okay? We're here to help. We are here to help. So whatever we can do to help, whether it me, Lee Chat, a lot of OGs in this league know things. So don't be afraid to ask it. Ask your coach. Ask your assistant head coach. Ask the recruiting coordinator. Ask anybody that was willing to help you because there are a lot of OGs here. Yep, agree. We all get busy taking those couple of seconds in a day to say something that just shows a lot. It helps everybody. It creates less work for everybody. So, communication is key. Again, have fun tomorrow. Remember, please do not ghost coaches. Remember to check message requests. Sometimes they're there. You may not even think you have a message. I've seen somebody say, I didn't get any DMs. You look at message requests, boom. There's like 12 waiting for him. He didn't see it, which I showed earlier. The last thing I'll say this. We put in when a coach puts in a roster. Okay, when he puts in his lineup, he puts lineup 1 through 10. Okay, when I load it up into 2K, everybody gets put equal 20 minutes. Stamina, as well as the top 5 and the 6-man usually see the most minutes, even though I'm putting it in evenly. They'll still see they'll see the most minutes, and they're usually, not always, but usually in at crunch time at the end. But your player will get plenty of playing time, and it may not. Don't go into this going, hey, I'm a green chip, I'm a 70 overall. Am I going to be your starting point guard? Probably not. Will there be occasions or opportunities to spot start? Absolutely. Coaches use it as part of their strategy. But don't go into this like, am I going to start? Oh, I'm not starting. I'm going elsewhere. Because guess what? This is about team. All right? At the end of the day, it's about team. So, Ricky, yeah. So nobody's committing. We'll have 2 commitment days. We'll have an early signing day, probably either Wednesday or Thursday. So if you've recruited, if you're verbal, you're locked in with your coach, you got your recruiting graphic, you're good to commit on Wednesday or Thursday, whichever day you decide to do it, and you want to commit, which will be helpful to them, you're entitled to do it. Again, you have to have it has to be mutual. You can't just say, oh, I want to go to Kentucky, we had a conversation, I'm good, I'm going to be on Kentucky, because there's no guarantee that the Kentucky coach, after his conversation, wants you. But if you commit on that early day, you'll still have the back, then we'll shut it down, nobody will be able to commit. You can verbal to a coach, you'll just have to wait to announce it, the letter of intent, on that last final day of signing. Hopefully that helps you. But yes, this is 100% recruiting. You can give your verbal. Don't pop your cherry on the first offer you get. I'm not saying don't heavily consider it. But again, there's 160 prospects. We can't get to you all in one day. We can't even. Sometimes you might be the second choice, and that's okay. Sometimes I've gone to like my 4th or 5th choice, and that guy actually ended up being a better fit than my first. There's just only so much we can do in a given day. People go to school. People work. People have families. Maybe they're eating. Perfect example. The guy lives in Israel. His prime time is now. During the day or the early morning for us, like early morning when I say like 10, 11 o'clock, he's asleep. He's a coach. So just be mindful that not everybody's on different time zones. We all have schedules. We all have lives. Don't cry if 5 seconds in you don't have an offer or a conversation or a DM from a coach, because guess what? odds are it's probably not going to happen. It'll take a couple hours before your DMs start popping up. Some of these guys will have it queued up, some of them won't. And it all depends on when they're available. Late signing day, I believe, most likely it will be 2/13. So if you look at the calendar really quickly here. So if I do early signing here, this will be your final sign. This gives me 3 or 4 days before preseason starts here. That's kind of the scenario. Yeah, everybody has different schedules. Just because you don't have an offer 5 seconds in, or someone doesn't promise you a starting opportunity, don't have a cow over it. Don't be like, oh, I'm not considering you. Granted, you might have somebody that say, hey, I'm going to give you the starting point guard. Or don't ask, am I going to get more minutes? Because guess what? It's balanced the way we put it in the sim. So, Spider, I wouldn't expect anything less from you, brother. They can lie. Here's the thing. Don't ask the question. It's a dumb question because, and I'll tell you why. It's a dumb question. It's not that what you asked to me is not a dumb question. Asking that to a coach is dumb, and here's why. Let's say you're prospect 1, Spider's prospect 2. Okay, you guys were on the same team. Both of you started out as a 77 overall blue chip. Okay, you both play point guard. Well, there's a situation where you might be running sims, or you might be seeing the games, and your archetype doesn't fit with the starting unit. Or your archetype fits better with the guys coming off the bench. Or you're significantly more packed up by week 1 than the other guy. There are a lot of factors that can factor in. So coaches don't like to promise starting spots because it's not really fair, because you grow as a team. Listen, I've seen guys, and I've said this to my coach, I'm better off coming off the bench. I'd rather be the spark plug off the bench. We had a guy 2 seasons ago on Wake Forest, 6th man of the year. Why? Because he averaged 20 points a game. 6th man of the year. He wasn't a starter. So, it's a silly question, to be honest, because it's hard for a coach now to know what that will look like or feel like once guys started to progress, once teams evolve, once chemistry evolves, because there are some arcs that don't work well with other arcs, and that's a fact. It's just based on their pluses, their pros and their cons. So hopefully all this was good info for you guys. Hopefully you learned a lot. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you, Zay, and a few other coaches that kind of hung around, answered some questions. We do have a question and answer section in the CSBA Discord. I think there's also, again, if you have questions, ask a coach, ask in lead chat. There are so many people that know the rules, know where to go. Don't be afraid to be in lead chat. I'm telling you, point blank, please do not be afraid to be in lead chat. It is hugely helpful for people to show interest in you. It's a great place for us to get to know you, as opposed to just thinking you're somebody that just doesn't talk and isn't invested in being here. So we ask that you do that. I'm not saying you have to live in chat 24/7, but show that you're active, show that you're committed. And just on that, my note goes, my light just went out on a timer in front of me, and I look like the Emperor right now. So we will catch you guys. I was not expecting that light to go out, just to be completely honest, but the wife must have set the timer. So on that note, we will end this again. Excited to see what you guys. Recruiting starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. Have fun. Enjoy it. Don't ghost coaches. Don't take the first order. Don't be that 2-pump jump. We'll see you guys at Manana. Have a good night, CSBA. Appreciate you all. Thanks for all the subs, too, guys. Have a good